Welcome back to 2 p.m. with the Trigger, the special edition, all this week because this month, the month of July, as we prepare to celebrate the 4th of July coming up, this month is dedicated to helping you overcome your fear of public speaking. In fact, it's the freedom from the fear of public speaking. It's all about freedom this month. We have some great guests coming up. We kicked this off yesterday, Sunday, with a special 2 p.m. live. Terry Brock came on for episode 1. And he was talking about lack of preparation. Make sure you check that out. We're email blasting out. It's on LinkedIn, Facebook. It's on YouTube, all the many different channels we have at Rock the Stage. You do want to check out the lack of preparation. We started there live, and Terry gave great insights on why preparation can disrail you. From your very beginning, from your first words, if you're not prepared to rock the stage, you're going to run into problems. Today, we're going to continue on. We're doing this all weekend long. 2 p.m. Live is dedicated to helping you find freedom from the fear of public speaking. It is a real thing. It is a real phobia. It affects many, many people. So we're going to do Sunday through Saturday, every day at 2 p.m. Yes, even on Saturday, we'll be here. You come join us. We're going to have a great time and talk about this with amazing influencers, speakers, authors. And today we have a former actress with us. How's that? We're bringing great people in here. Yes, we are. She's also a media branding coach. She does things similar to me, a little bit different to me. She helps you shine on camera. Oh, okay, let's just bring her in. Sandra Dee Robinson, we're going to bring you on in. We can't stand it anymore. Good to see you again, my friend.
Hello, good to see you too. I'm so glad that you're doing this series because it really affects people of every single level of success, every creed, every color, every age. I mean, this fear of speaking in public and being in the spotlight is huge, and it can be debilitating. So I'm really glad that you're doing this.
Well, again, thank you. This is day 2. We have a whole series of these coming up on many different topics. And you happen to pick one out that you could personally relate to, which is what I love. People are picking out the topics on what they already dealt with or are dealing with. And it's the freedom from the fear of having to be perfect. We've all heard it. And some people have probably even told us, especially in the acting profession, I'm sure people have said, do it better, do it right, go back, hit your mark.
I have a story about that. Yeah.
So I kind of guessed you probably did when you plucked this one off. So tell us a little bit about the fear of having to be perfect.
Yeah. So officially there is a fear and it's called a telephobia. Just so you know. You know, I feel like Lucy from the Peanuts when she was listing off all the phobias and that to Charlie Brown. I don't know if she listed this one, but it actually is a fear. No. It's actually the fear of imperfection. So it can be just slightly annoying, you know, or it can be debilitating, honestly. So most often a fear like this and which ends up being translated into stage fright, so to speak, right? Yep. It's, I mean, to get down to the root of it, it's usually caused by trauma as a child. So it could be simply withholding love from a child. And so it could also be the imitation of a parent that already has this need to be perfect. So, or a combination of the two, which was kind of the situation with me, right? So what this ends up doing is as an adult, the modus operandi is actually just trying to get acceptance. Looking for acceptance, looking for approval, looking for love at the very base, at the very core of that, you know, and some people can be leaders listening to this going, oh, this is, you know, hocus pocus, whoa, blah, blah, blah. But there really is something about how the mind is developed and all of us suffer some form of trauma. A lot of times if it is quite serious, such as, you know, love not being withheld love being withheld as a child or any other kind of trauma, then this can be, you know, a pretty serious thing to have to take a look at. Otherwise, it's going to be holding you back and not just speaking, but actually speaking up and representing yourself and negotiating and sales is going to show up in all kinds of different places.
Well, interesting enough, I recently heard on a couple of podcasts that I'm tracking with celebrities, John Delancey. John Delancey had a big fear. He was doing well in life, and then it reversed completely on him. And he did want to act. He did want to, but literally he could not do it. He was like, I got to fix this. I got to work on this. A couple other actors also had the fear of like, I've been told I'm good, but every time I go out to hit my mark, it's like, I don't want to hear the feedback. I don't want someone to tell me anything. I just want to think I did it right. But as you know, in the acting business, that's one of the biggest things you're told by directors, producers, fellow actors, probably even. you've got to do better at this. So they do ratchet up being perfect, don't they?
Yes and no. So for one thing, okay, so the opposite. So we're talking about the inhibitions, and just so that people can stay tuned in, right? We're going to get by the end of this to the opposite of this.
Yes.
Like when you have succeeded in getting rid of this debilitating fright, right? The opposite is going to be the freedom of expression, which most people think, freedom of expression is acting, is performance. It's just literally being you is what I'm talking about, and being comfortable with that. So that includes self-love, self-acceptance. And when you are able to diffuse this fear, you actually are able to access creative thinking much easier, and get this, the ability to be spontaneous. Hence, if you are a speaker, improv skills are thinking spontaneously and being creative. So everything becomes so much easier. So, it's not just a freedom of, oh, I can get up on stage. It's actually being able to work your way around situations, because stuff is inevitably going to go wrong, right? Whether it's virtual or real stage, there's stuff that can go wrong.
Well,
right?
and again, the more you learn improv, the more you realize it's not going to be perfect. So it does gives you that flex muscle of, I'm going to go here. I could go here. I could go here. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do have to be authentic, energized, deliver the goods.
100%. And so for me, when I said, it's interesting that you would think they would focus on being perfect. I actually was obsessed with that. So I did grow up with critical parents, and I fell into a category of this need for perfection that led me into body dysmorphia, eating disorders, and all of that. So there is a portion of this. So I don't want to make light of anything that I might say in a funny way, that there is a serious part of this. So like OCD for me, I would be up cleaning my apartment until 3 a.m. and then I'd be at work at 7 a.m. on set. And that only works for so long. That is not sustainable. So if there is this type of fear that is in somebody's life that's watching or listening today, I want to make a very good point of saying, hey, go seek some counseling. There's nothing wrong with that. See if it is something that is really getting in your way, and you might need a little bit more than just, you and I sitting here chatting about things. It might be a little more serious.
Well, and you're hitting on a big point here, because this phobia, this fear of public speaking does affect your upward mobile ability with personal life, career, family. It affects so many areas that it puts a cap on you. So you're absolutely right. You do need to get help, support, and take it somewhat serious. But also part of the thing I learned was I need to laugh and have fun. If I take myself too serious, then I'm never going to do it.
It's true. So I would say, try handling it on your own. But if it really doesn't go away, and I would say hiring a coach would be the next thing. If you're working with a coach that's still not getting anywhere, then I would absolutely. And to be honest with you, if somebody comes to me and I feel like I'm not enough for them, I will suggest, hey, maybe see a counselor, or see me and a counselor at the same time. I can recognize when certain levels are really hard to deal with. I was horrible, and I actually, I guess, benefited from both, to be honest with you. I did do counseling. I don't actually attribute all that much of my healing to it, but there probably was a piece of it, right? So when I was an actor, one very, very important moment comes to mind. And I was in acting class with a very well-known acting teacher, and I was trying so hard to get the scene perfect. Right? So I was trying to stand perfect, be in the perfect position, say the things perfectly, make sure I got all the words out, emphasize everything that needed to be emphasized, and be perfect. And he stopped me. And I remember this because it was so humiliating. And remember, stage fright is really a fear of not being accepted. So it's a fear of looking like being shamed in front of people, being alone. It's actually at its core, it is a fear of abandonment, which is a very, very deep fear for human beings, because as little babies, we're dependent on other humans to keep us alive. So we automatically have a fear of being abandoned, especially if we've been abandoned emotionally, even as a child. So he humiliates me in front of the class. That is why it was so impactful for me. And he says, stop trying to be perfect. He's yelling at me. And I, in my mind, as he says this to me, I kid you not, I'm going, but that's what I'm supposed to be. I'm actually defending myself in my own mind as he's yelling at me, as I'm standing up on stage, and I can feel the tears starting to come, because there's a piece inside of me that knows that he is on the right track and that I am not.
So let's just time out there for a second, because again, the eating disorder, the idea, and much of the acting profession is slim, cool, attractive, perfect, trimmed all the time, and then also
perfect. Right.
And then the word delivery, again, one of the podcasts I heard this week kind of was giving a joke to my favorite show, Star Trek. They were talking about, it was like Shakespearean science fiction.
Yes.
You had to deliver the right words. And especially Next Generation, they literally could not break from script. Some
Yes.
shows give you freedom. It was word for word. The producer was like, no, you got to go back and fix that A, that other. And
Yes.
they did want to be picture perfect for the script.
Yeah.
So there is some of the truth there.
There
But like
is.
you said,
There is.
there's
Yeah.
also the other side of it of find your essence, find your core, and be the character and have fun.
This is where he was getting, and this is why it was so impactful for me, and not just in my acting, but I carried it through, and I work it into sessions with my clients and when it would help them. It's the understanding. He says people, and this is where I remember he said to me, people are not drawn to perfection. We are drawn to the brokenness in each other. That is human nature. And it, after I left there, of course, in tears, feeling about this big, right, crying the whole way home in the car, I sat there and I thought about it. I was like, you know what? That's pretty true. Think about our most popular icons of pop culture, right? I mean, if you think about going back to, I was in a big Marilyn Monroe phase, I think, at that point. And she's still gracing covers of magazines 50 years later. It's not because she's beautiful. There are plenty of beautiful people that have been in that industry.
Yeah.
It's because she was so broken. And there's something about her that we connect with. James Dean, same thing. Think about the people that have just that little bit of brokenness. That's what we're drawn to. We love Forrest Gump, not because he, managed to just be fearless and do all this stuff, but we love him because he was not, he was a mess, right? So one of our favorite characters. So fiction and nonfiction, we are drawn to the brokenness in each other. That should give us, I know I hate that word, but, intellectually, that should give us the freedom to go, oh, I don't need to be perfect.
So Christy's got a great question. By the way, thank you everyone for chiming in. We're trying to share and talk at the same time.
Yes.
What do you say to yourself when the feeling begins to creep in? Because it doesn't happen right away. It's a growing feeling because you're in the moment, whether you're on stage speaking, you're reading a book, whatever. It builds to like, people are looking at me. I don't think I'm doing this right. All those things start to come in. So how do you circumvent that?
Yeah. Well, what I did, there's 3 things that I came up with, and I can go through them real quick. And
Please.
And if it doesn't answer the question, then let us know, and I'll see if I can get more specific, right? Because everybody, I can't really give a blanket statement for what's going to happen when you're in the throes of it, when you're up in front of people, because everybody's coming from a different place. How much healing do they have on their core wound? By the way, we all have a core wound, every single human being on the planet. So it's just not just specific people that are messed up. It's every single one of us. It's how we learn to operate in the world comes from that place. So knowing what it is doesn't mean it's that you're going to heal it necessarily. You're just going to go, oh yeah, that's my thing. That's how I do that. I need to override that today. So learning to override it, there's 3 things that'll really help. Number 1, recognize the futility, which is what we just touched on, right? It's absolutely futile to try to be perfect. It's impossible. So by trying to set yourself up to be perfect, you are setting yourself up to fail. Why would you do that? Would you do that to your best friend? Would you do that to your children? Why would you ever do that to yourself? Give yourself an impossible goal? That's nuts. So if perfection is the only goal, realize it's the only possibility that you see. There will be no possibility for growth or success.
So that was the first one that I used to get stuck on with my stutter.
Yeah.
Because the minute I began to stutter, it was like, oh, there goes perfect. I went the other direction. Some friends literally told me, just relax and do it. You can do it. Just relax. But my mind was telling me, stay on. And it was like the train track going awry. And all of a sudden, click, I go off with a stutter. Yeah. Instead of just staying with it, and I'm okay. And when I learned exactly what you're talking about, the freedom is not trying to be perfect with this. Just be yourself. It was like the weight of the world was off.
Yeah. And even if you don't have a stutter, I have people that come to me that say, I have to memorize. I have to memorize everything I'm going to say. Especially when I first started coaching people on camera and they're doing video for their business, they want to memorize their script. And I said, it's the worst thing you can do. These are usually perfectionistic people, right?
Yeah.
And now I can't even say the word. I'm so allergic to it. But they are usually people that are focused on perfection, that say, I have to say the script. And the situation is much like you when you started to stutter. If they trip over a word or they forget a line in their script, they think that it's done. It's not perfect. I'm done. And they can't come back. They can't get back into the swing of things. So really give yourself a break. Don't be like the fly, that's going after and killing itself. Literally, it will die trying to get out a closed window because it's the only option that it sees. And the open door is 3 feet away.
Yes.
So don't be the fly. Number
Don't be
one,
the bug on the windshield. Just don't be the bug on the windshield.
don't be the flat. Second is have a ritual where you actually practice self-love, because that feeling that you have of that stage fright where this stuff comes up, that's not the only place that that is showing up for you.
Right.
So it's practice self-love. And there's even a pop song out right now. I think about this, which is really kind of funny. Never thought that I'd be the one telling myself that I need self-love. So I wish I knew. If anybody knows who sings that, it would be great to throw it up in the chat. But journal things that are really awesome, freaking awesome about you. And if you're struggling with this, then just start with, hey, I do this better than the average person, okay? Start with that. And don't forget about the physical attributes too. And we all have something, right? I may hate my thighs, but I gotta say, I'm kind of glad I have a muscular butt, or I'm all right with my smile. I may not like other things, but there are things that I go, okay, that's a plus for me. That's something that I want to play up. So put that on the list. Put this stuff on the list. And you know what? Reread it. Be grateful for the things that are on that list, and it will change the level of vibration. It will change your focus. It will allow you to actually start to appreciate what you are bringing to the table instead of focusing on what you think you're not.
So Strength Finders is one of my favorite books. Strength Finders tells you to look at the strength, and often we're digging around and we're always trying to work on the weakness, work on the weakness, work on the weakness, when the good stuff is sitting right here saying, use me.
One of my favorite quotes that I use, and you know this one, I always say, own your magnificence and the world responds accordingly.
Yes.
The
Lean
world.
into your strength.
When I'm working with the horses, right? We do these retreats with leadership and communication focused retreats with horses, with professionals. When we're doing that, it's the same thing. The world responds accordingly. That's even an animal that doesn't speak your language. The natural world, the universe is going to respond accordingly if you actually understand what you are bringing to the table and love it.
Well, and like, I know you got point through, but let me illustrate that, because during my speaking career, I was advised by some people during my church ministry years that, you need to suit and tie, jacket, and be a pastor now and do the right thing and, stand behind the pulpit and look serious. And I would always wander and storytell and, share from heartfelt. And I tried to go in that direction. And literally some of my own church members called me up and said, what are you doing? Where did you just go? Why are you being this way? And it was like, I was listening to other professionals, by the way, and they said, you do storytelling and you draw us into the story. You teach us, you illustrate. Just keep doing it. We'll keep coming. But if you do this, we're not coming. And I went, wow. Lean into my strength. Lean into my strength. It was so clear and back on track again. So it's a big point that people need to realize. Lean into your strength.
And you just brought up my number 3, which is review. What you essentially were getting was feedback, right? That made you go, oh, wait a minute, right? And so I would say watch and review. So we're specifically talking about, fear of speaking and all of that. So record yourself speaking, even if it's not in front of a real audience, record yourself. But if you're in front of an audience, same, make sure in any form. I always think it's a great idea to have good video of yourself speaking, because you can use it somewhere. I wish I had more right now. I have a bunch of little tiny pieces of me speaking over the last 4 years, trying to put it into a reel. And it's so difficult because some of it is just really not great quality, but always record yourself. If for no other reason, to sit. And I would say, if you're hard on yourself like I was, find a positive focused coach, positive reinforcement coach. That's me. That's how I work. And I work that way because that type of coach made the biggest leaps for me, quantum leaps. And it was starting off by watching myself. And let me tell you something. I had been on as an actress working every single day for 4 straight years. I never watched myself once. That's how much I had an issue. I couldn't physically. And so I'm saying this because there may be people out there that can't physically put their eyes on a screen to watch themselves play back. I actually had to cover my face and take little peeks at it in the beginning. And I cringed the entire time. I mean, I was really bad. I had this so badly that I didn't know if I saw it. I saw everything wrong. I went right back to the deepest depths of self-deprecation, right? And by having a coach next to me that said, hey, this was a really great moment. And I'd look a little bit, I'd peek my eyes through my hands a little clearer. And I'd go, what? And she'd say, that moment right there, do you remember how it felt in your body? And I go, yeah, that was really good. Let's go for that again. And so she never pointed out the stuff that I was doing wrong. She never saw the stuff that I was seeing, or so I thought. She
No,
just pointed out good moment to good moment to good moment. And whenever we're training, if you again, I'm going to bring up the natural world and horses because that's my world, right? So
yeah,
you're training a horse. There's a phrase that says, make the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy. So what a coach like that does is actually helps to make the better choices, the more charismatic choices, the more effective choices easy to recognize. That becomes easy. And then suddenly you start to go, oh, that didn't feel so good. And that was probably how you used to be. So it's a progression, and it does require reviewing yourself and having somebody next to you that's pumping you up while you're doing it.
I tell everyone I coach when it comes to this media branding stuff, watch, listen, watch, and listen. I hear a lot of actors, a lot of radio people don't want to hear their own stuff. They
Yes.
just don't want to hear their own stuff. But you
Yeah.
have to learn the craft, to learn the art side of it, where you do find the more freedom. You need to review. It's a
Yeah.
great point. Got a couple of comments, questions coming in here.
Oh,
Do you have a go-to? Let's see if we can get it on the screen. Do you have a go-to start you recommend to connect with your listeners if you know you're going to be nervous? So just from my tip, my
yeah.
opening and my closing every talk, my takeoff, my landing every talk are in the can. I know them when I walk on stage. I even have a backup script in case, because sometimes cameras, doors slamming, the kids crying. You do get distracted at takeoff and landing. So I literally have it. Now, I do know my intro and open, but I'm going to have a story right away. My first thing is go to the story, get a laugh, get a chuckle, pull them into my imagination, and then go from there. That's mine. What's yours, Sandra?
It's really similar. That's one of the first things I say. And I think it was Ronald Reagan that said, we talked about the story of a film, right? You can talk about making a film good. He goes, make sure you really good in the beginning and a beautiful ending. People forget all the boring stuff in the middle. And I laughed about it, but that actually is how I approach every time. I approach with my clients when I'm helping them get over this and get up on stage and present. And for myself, if I know how I'm going to start and I know how I'm going to end, it's a lot easier. And my start will sometimes even be like, if you are nervous and you actually feel yourself, shaking or something, it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I'm still getting used to this whole thing of like, oh, y'all staring at me. You know what I mean? And like, and make it a funny moment. Like, I hope you're friendly because there's a
Yep.
lot of eyes on me right now. I mean, you can actually say that stuff and you'll find that when they chuckle, as soon as an audience laughs, it feels so much better, right? Now, if you're trying to be funny and they don't laugh, like, which is why I'd be terrified to do stand up, that's a whole different deal. A whole another show right there. But there is something about that, right? Making them laugh.
No, it is. The other thing I usually do have a glass of water either on a stand near me or something. It's a dramatic pause. I intentionally will talk a little bit, ask a question, and I'll say, it's not rhetorical. Let me hear from somebody. If I'm having that nervous, I'll take the sip for audience engagement. And that sip is calm down, chill out, and I just put it back. I've even had glasses as a prop because they didn't give me anything. And I literally just had the head of there as a backup. But that's a reset mechanism to help you stay on target.
Yeah. And there's times in the beginning when I would ask a question of an audience, and this is usually when, by the way, I would be put in front of the wrong audience for me, something we learn as we grow, right?
Yep.
But I'd be put in front of the wrong audience, and I would ask a question, and there's like crickets, and I go, all right, guess just me, again, I just go back to like, just me. I'm the only one. Okay. Thanks so much. Thanks. You guys are good. And at least if one person laughed, then I'd be able to come back and find my footing again, but I would let that throw me if nobody responded to a question until I learned like, okay, just make fun of myself if nobody responds to the question, I have a pastor right now that does that. In fact, if we don't answer strongly enough, he goes, oh, that was pathetic.
And just own it and get that chuckle with it. By the way, Jan's been following along. She took notes. Look at this, son.
Nice. That's awesome. Don't be the fly. Yeah, that's right.
So boy, people are paying attention. The people are listening. This is a big thing for a lot of people. This fear of public speaking, this fear, yesterday was preparation. Today it's the idea of being perfect. We're throwing that out the window. Now, you do have to go in prepared still. So we're not saying just go in blind and just do it. You will not grow, you will not achieve, but you don't have to be perfect with it.
No. Drawn to, there's my friend. There we go. Stacey's here. Definitely remember as that keeps coming back to me. We're drawn to the brokenness in each other. So the need to be perfect comes from something that's a, a very, I would say unhealthy place, comes from an unhealthy place.
Well, and again, you find freedom in just learning this craft. This is why we're doing this series. We're doing this for this week. July is freedom from the fear of public speaking, all the entire month of July. This entire week, we are doing this Sunday through Saturday. The rest of the month, we're going to have other guests come on every Tuesday and Thursday. We're going to continue this throughout the month because it is a big deal. And like we said at the beginning, it will limit your trajectory to the top to reach your goals. And like some of the actors that lately, several of the podcasts I've heard, they have all talked about that. There was something that was slowing me down. Something was keeping me from doing it, whether it was reading, whether it was self-confidence, with his family issues. Many of the actors now are talking about, I wanted to, but something was keeping me. How many of us are stuck that way and we're not learning to be a better speaker?
Stuck. I was hiding behind my characters. If somebody gave me a microphone and told me to be me, I would literally, in one time, physically blacked out. I mean, that's how terrified I was.
Really?
Yeah. And it all stems from what we're talking about today. I felt like I had to be perfect, Like I said, I was on a national show, acting and being recognized in people's living rooms every single day for 4 years. And I still thought I had to be perfect. So thank God, I don't know how they blessed me with work when I was still so messed up in my head, but I couldn't do other things. If I wanted to do fundraising or be interviewed in the media, it was very, very terrifying for me.
And then now you coach people on media interviews
and
stuff like that. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? How far you come now? Thank you, Christy, and the others for your comments, for your questions and your comments. We're going to do this every day, 2 p.m. Coming up tomorrow, we are going to have the 4th of July special. I'll be doing that one. I will be here. The fear of embarrassment. That's also tied somewhat into this as well, to being perfect, but the embarrassment. And I'm going to share some of my inside stories and ideas and thoughts to help you do that, because that was one I really struggled with. You can't be a public speaker if your tongue doesn't work, Sandra. Did you know that? If your tongue's tied up in knots, you're not going to make it.
But maybe you can.
Maybe you can. Aaron, thank you for the chime in here as well. So final comments, thoughts. Let's land the plane here. What can we do to really encourage them to overcome this fear and take that next step forward when it comes to perfection?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to the 3 things that I mentioned. Journal all the amazing things about yourself, and don't just journal it once and throw it away. Really look at it so that you wake up in gratitude. If you do a gratitude ritual in the morning, include that as part of it. I mean, as weird as it may feel, there will be a moment where you're like, no, really, I kick butt on this. This is the basis of, I have a brand assessment that I do with people, a personal brand assessment. And I start all my clients with that. And I'll even do it separately. The reason that I do it is so that they can see, oh, this is why people react when I am funny, when I am this, when I'm that, because sometimes people don't even recognize that the thing that they take for granted about themselves is what is so incredibly special. So I think it's so important to be able to write down that list of things that you think are better than average, at least, for other people.
Look what we have here. Accidentally, your website is available for everyone to go check out and hit the QR code. And Sandra's one of my top collaborators. We're great friends. We have a good time. We've done some partnership things. So what do they find, Sandra, when they go to your website to learn more about you and what you do?
I'm putting up a few free trainings. Actually, the first one is up now. The others should be up within, we've got a holiday here, definitely within 2 weeks. The others are going to be up. And the one that's up now is about speaking. So it's the 5 tips that I give over the years that will help people to be comfortable speaking. It's a mini video training. It's super short, but it is the top 5 things that I have repeated over and over again since I started teaching people in 2010. So, it's stuff that will make a difference, and it may just change the way it will reframe the way you're thinking about being in front of people. If you have
that QR code, make sure you connect with Sandra Dee. She's on LinkedIn. She's on Facebook. Yep. Very easy to connect there. And as you can tell, she's lots of fun and very, very informative. Sandra Dee, thank you for taking the time again and being a part of freedom from the fear of public speaking this week. Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, that's going to do it for this edition here today. We do have one more comment flying on in here. For me, there's so much. Let me check this comment here. For me, there's so much I can talk about, but I feel there are so many others talking about it already. Ooh, we have that one coming up this week. By the way. So don't be shy. I'm going to have to rewatch this. Hey, this is why we're doing this, everybody. There will be playbacks available. And again, if you want to connect, rich@richbondtrigger.net. rich@richbondtrigger.net is where you want to connect, and or go to LinkedIn, connect with me there as well. And easier yet, if you really want to connect and talk further about this, how about a free consult? Free consult, hit the QR code, let's connect, let's talk, because my passion is, like Sandra's, to help people conquer their fear of public speaking. I want you to rock the stage, and we're going to go deeper and deeper all month long. We're going to do power of embarrassment tomorrow. We're going to talk about being too vulnerable on stage coming up, and the fear of performance anxiety. Later on in the month, we're going to talk about fear of judgment. And what about the fear of making no money in this crazy business? Yeah, Sandra's back there going, yeah. So you want to join us, you want to connect, 2 p.m. with The Trigger every day. We'll be back here again tomorrow. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And again, we really do have the passion here at Rock the Stage Media. It's all about helping you shine on camera, shine on stage, to elevate you and your brand authority. Thanks for staying with us extra long today. These are going to be great this week. Be back here at 2 p.m. Eastern Time with The Trigger.